for the 501c3 status. This status was awarded to the organization in May of 2018. One area I believe we really made a huge impact is our humanitarian efforts. In February of 2018, we corporately organized a drive that supported our sister who was severely mutilated in Cameroon to cover her medical bills and upkeep. 2 other humanitarian projects were engaged in the past 2 years. The FACO America Healthcare Project and the Internally Displaced Project. These 2 projects provided much needed resources for FACO people. The FACO America Healthcare Project has 3 phases. The first phase, which was accomplished in May of 2019, included disbursement of medical supplies for several health centers around the FACO land. Dr. Martin Mokake has been instrumental in distributing the healthcare supplies to these health centers that are operational. Phase 2 and 3 of FACO America Healthcare Project will hopefully materialize in 2019 and 2020. The call for unity amongst FACO people has been a call of this administration. With that being said, we put our resources together to visit some local chapters and participated in inauguration of our very own FACO group. We believe that together we can continue to make great impact in the FACO people. Much is left to be done as we await the approval of the land for us to build our multipurpose center from the Land Consultative Board in FACO, and given that opportunity in Chicago, we will continue to achieve great things by the grace of God. Long live FACO America, long live FACO, and long live the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we got the next point of the agenda is a presentation from Mola Dr. Lopez.
Before we go, point of correction.
Yeah, Mola.
Just for clarification, 2 things. FACO America was first registered as a legal organization in Illinois. And if you look at the bylaws, it's reflected wherein Minnesota had some preference in the board of directors, and Illinois had some preference because Minnesota was the site of the birth of FACO America, and Illinois was the site of the first legal status of the organization. Just for correction. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, because I heard Maryland and so on. No. So I don't take just for clarification.
Thank you, Mola.
All right.
Go ahead, Mola Lopez.
Munyamwe, I greet you all. I'm Mola Lopez from Minnesota. I'm also the chairman of the project committee. I have some people who have been working with me in the project committee. They are here. Here, very on the left, Mr. Mola Ilinge, Mola Ndivamanga, Mola Mbella, who is also the Secretary General. I just want to thank them so much for all their input. Before I go further, I also want to thank the President and the Board Chair. We have been working in the background a lot, especially to get things set up. This idea came up sometime last year when this committee was elected, not last year, the year before, because I didn't attend the convention last year where I was supposed to do this presentation. So we started working on it, and a lot of work has been going on in the background. We were supposed to have had the land by now. It's just the little commotion that is going on back at home that is still holding us down. But everything seems to be on the way. So I just prepared a little presentation to let you guys know how we started and where we are, and some of the reasons why we think this is so important. So here's like the groundwork that was done. We have an architect, Mr. Mike Iseka, who is also helping us with some of the architectural work. And then we were hoping that when we get very ready, since we have Mola Ndoko in the house, and then we can go to him, because then it's going to be something that's more structural. We were thinking about some of the reasons why something like this is very important in our FACO community. We were looking at areas of education, we're looking at areas of health and wellness, we're looking at areas of employment. So when we talk about education, I do remember when some of us were growing up in Boya, we had just Franco Alliance Cameroonese. I don't know how many people remember that. That's the only library that we knew about. You know, we used to go there once in a while, you know, get books. There were structured games that were there that we used to, you know, go there and play, but we didn't really have like any specific areas that were allocated like libraries that we could go there to get information and so on. With this multi-purpose center, we'll have an area like that that's going to help us. And then we all know that one of the things back at home with the people who are there, especially our parents who are healthy, elderly, it's health and wellness. There are so many things that they don't know. We do have so many professionals in this organization. We can be making trips back there, you know, to see how we can control things, you know, reading for health fairs and so on, at either minimal cost or sometimes even for free for those who cannot afford. Then we're looking also at the labor area, you know, like workforce. We have so many youth back at home, graduates, undergraduates, PhD holders who are unemployed. You know, we're thinking that, you know, with a structure like this, with several different programs that we are trying to organize, or that we are trying to come up with, I mean, we can offer employment to so many people and keep them busy. Also, we can produce so many people who could be very influential in the nation, who could go further. I'll give you an example. When we were back at school in CPC Valley, we had one guy who was very tall. He couldn't really do anything in terms of sports. My sportsman or sportsman that we had at that time just said, "You look like a volleyball player." He took that guy and started training him. And before I left Cameroon, he was already in the national team. He was going abroad and so on. So if we have, like we're going to have sports and recreation, basketball teams, and so on, we also get our talented youths who are there, you know, that we can improve them and then send them out or send them out, you know, to other areas and they get to the national team.
I'm coming
So
your way.
our father, already said so much about it. Things are going well. The only thing that is slowing us down from getting the land at this point in time is just the crisis that is going on in Cameroon. But everything has been said. We're looking at about 20 acres of land. So that's so much land that we can do so much. You know, we can use it the way we want. The committee is still welcoming ideas, even though we have this presentation. You can reach out to us at any time and give us your ideas. There are so many things that so many activities, so many programs that we intend to carry on in that location. So we're still getting ideas. We're still welcoming ideas from all the FACO people or anyone. So this is just like a sample of what we are thinking. You know, like three-story building is going to have so many amenities. Some of them we do have an architect who has come up with some kind of 3D structures on what we intend to have in that big land that we're going to acquire
one day in the morning.
Very soon. So again, I already spoke about this, the things that
Drink your booze.
this project, about things that we're going to do for the community.
It's good.
I know. I can smell it. You see how he drank with it? Sorry, Volete.
Sorry about that.
Peace.
In the
You call me with the title. Peace.
did I know you?
Yeah, you did. And then you made to call my sister before said no, you're not.
Well,
video.
So I don't know what's going on with technology, but these are some professional drawings,
Yes,
professional
I am
structures
from
that we
Minnesota.
got from the architect who is helping us out.
Go ahead.
So you can see
My goodness, I'm
and
having
that's
such a
how
good
we
time
take
here
the
in
buildings to
Chicago.
look like, and that's just part
Thanks,
of that
Chicago,
street
for
where
hosting
we have
us.
the library data center. I know like in Camona there are so many areas, where there are so many places where people who want to travel, they go to those areas, they pay so much money in order to get them helped fill application forms and so on. If we have our own center with all this and all the trained people who will be there to help us out, at a lower cost or sometimes even for free, those things can be handled there for our people who are intending to travel. So, yeah.
Just a concept. It's okay.
All right, that's another part of the building in the location that is showing like areas where we could have like the banquet hall, like the indoor basketball. Also, outdoor basketball court, just some of the amenities that we intend to have in that location.
Not ticket.
Okay, this just showing like a pavilion, from one hall to another. That indicates like an area where we can do a barbecue and a big area out where people can sit. So that's, you just skip the library. Okay, so like that's the area where we have all the library, the restaurant. Again, like we said, there are so many programs that will be going on in there and so many activities. So it's just showing how the structure will look like in those areas where we can put in some of those activities. All right, so this is just showing some of the programs that we will have there, like kids programs in the library. I know in some of our libraries here in the US, we do have lots of programs for kids, especially during the summer. So it's just showing some of the programs that we have in terms of education, holiday programs. And then that's just like some of the things that are going to be inside, just a look of, what we will present when the final presentation is given out, and then we get ideas on how to structure those. So I just talked about like the health and wellness, which is also one of the main initiatives. And we can see we also have a gym by the side. We have counseling area where we can carry on our programs, like diabetes awareness, hypertension, and so on. And then also we do have a gym there that will, help us keep fit. All right, outside, there's going to be some indoor pools and also some outside and some volleyball pitches, tennis area, outdoor basketball court. All right, information technology. I just talked a little bit ago about, like some of our people who want to travel, they have to go to cyber places. Back then, where in Moliko, they pay so much money to get application forms filled for them and so on. This is something that we can do ourselves and help our people pay either the minimal amount or just nothing. Soccer pitch. All right.
Go back.
Yeah, just go to the next. All right, so coming up with all these ideas and all this structure, it's really good. But the other part is we have to think about our mindset. How do we achieve this? I just have another group that I'm very close to who have done this. It's not a small amount of money. It's a very, very huge amount of money. And again, like I said, because of time, I know Mola Musa is here. Maybe all the ideas are not being given out. We will also put this in the website so that people can go through it and give in their recommendations and suggestions. And some of the areas that we were looking at how to raise funds for this, because I do know, like somebody said, there are several different ways that we can, use to raise funds for the organization. Then what I usually realize at the end is who wants to do it? Nobody does it, so we usually have to start from ourselves. So we do have some incentives in terms of the building.
And hopefully we will not send you all to sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, Wonyamoy, peace be with you. It is my honor to stand before you today to give the keynote address at this memorable occasion, the Silver Jubilee of FACO America. I stand before you not as a messiah or a prophet, but simply as one who was there at the beginning and who has a stake in the fortunes of FACO America and the indigenous people of FACO. In the life of everyone, there comes a time of awakening, of self-awareness, a time when one begins to ask questions of oneself. Who am I? Where did I come from? What am I doing here? Where am I going? The Mokwe are no exception. And so it happened that over 25 years ago, several sons and daughters of the Mokwe began to ask questions of themselves as their numbers swelled in areas such as Minneapolis, St. Paul, the metropolitan Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, and Chicago, Illinois. The result of this awakening was the formation of small groups like FECA, Washington, or BICA, Washington, and FECA, Minnesota. The activism within these small groups grew steadily and soon led to discussions about the formation of a much larger grouping that will cover the United States. And so was born FACO America. FACO America was born amid much enthusiasm, much fanfare, and much hope. The organization was intended to serve as a vehicle to harness the collective energy and resources of the sons and daughters of FACO residing in the United States for the purpose of propagating the culture and traditions of the Mokwe, promoting economic empowerment within our community, encouraging marriage between the FACO sons and daughters so as to preserve our identity, among other things. The organization was founded to protect the vital interests of the FACO indigenes in the USA and in the land of our ancestors. That was 25 years ago. 25 years is a long time, and yet 25 years is a short time. My firstborn was barely a month old before the first convention of FACO America, which held in Minneapolis, or my first son, actually. Today he's a young man who can take care of himself and even take care of other people. So what can we say about our cherished organization? Is it on the path to maturity, or has it attained maturity? Has it met its goals? I may not be able to report to you or give you a report card of FACO America, the organization, but I may be able to give you some idea of the condition of the Mokwe and the FACO people as an entity, and perhaps what we should be doing, or my idea of what we should be doing. And I've learned many things here that I didn't even know are taking place. So who are we and how did we get here? Once upon a time, the Mokwe were a fiercely independent group of people who lived on the lush mountains slopes of Mount FACO. They fought the German invaders won some battles but were eventually defeated. Their lands were expropriated and they were sent to live in reservations called by the Germans reservoir. Many of these lands were turned into German plantations, which eventually became part of CDC. With the advent of the German plantations and the need for labor, thousands of non-indigenes were brought into FACO. The floodgates were opened. This single event helped to shape the fate of FACO for decades to come. Soon the Mokwe became a minority in their ancestral land. With the influx of able-bodied men empowered by their cash earnings from the plantations, the women of the Mokwe began to look elsewhere for partners, and so began the dilution of the tribal lineage. Later, the men also began to look outward, thereby accelerating the dilution. The departure of the Germans did little to abate the influx into FACO, a land so fertile you could literally throw your seeds onto the ground and watch them sprout and grow into healthy plants. A land that serves as the gateway to the world. Over the years, FACO has witnessed a veritable invasion by the thousands who come in to make their fortunes. And the Mokwe, who welcomed everyone with open arms, has found himself increasingly overwhelmed by the sheer numbers. How have the FACO people reacted to these pressures? The Mokwe have turned on one another, brother against brother, to the delight of the outsider. Even before the socio-political upheavals of the last 3 years, the Mokwe had been in disarray for a long time. Traditional institutions had been weakened by infighting over the years, and the self-styled elite have provided little in the way of leadership. Although we are quite small, we have become fragmented and mostly ineffectual. There remains a wide gap between the rank and file Mokwe and us, the elite, who use the ordinary man to fight our battles. In political and sociological theory, the elite are a small group of powerful people who hold a disproportionate amount of wealth, privilege, political power, or skill in a society. We, the elite, do indeed hold a disproportionate amount of wealth, privilege, political power, and skill in the society. But do we use these assets for the general good? A particularly devastating consequence of this infighting and fragmentation is the inability of the Mokwe to find a forum where they can discuss matters of general interest to the tribe. For every meeting is infiltrated by partisan political concerns, as the elite struggle to further their careers within the system. As a result, many issues of general interest have been left unattended for years. Indeed, it is no longer clear that there is any forum in which the vital interests of the Mokwe take center stage. While the elite fight among themselves, the rank and file of the tribe have been abandoned to their own devices, like sheep without a shepherd. A clear example of this disarray is the frenetic pace at which the Mokwe are alienating their land. So, should we be doing? Obviously, we are not going to sit here and give you a 3-4 hour discourse on our problems. There are a number of things that, in my mind, one should be doing. On the education and economic front, we know that many of our youth are unemployed. They do not go to school. They lack the training and the capital to sustain small business ventures. We think FACO America should create economic interest groups which can function both here and back home. And some of what I may say may already be going on, but we note quite clearly that there's very little coordination because the fragmentation appears to exist not only back home, but even here. In Cameroon, these economic interest groups can sponsor training for startups and invest in business ventures. FACO America economic interest groups should be able to undertake sizable ventures in Cameroon and in the US, and thereby empower the FACO community as a whole. I know several years ago, we attempted to set up such a group within the FA and failed. But I'm glad to see that a similar effort, which was described early on here, the FACO, the microfinance institution, appears to have already gathered over 100 million, and so I encourage and I congratulate those behind the effort. I encourage them to continue in that spirit and to expand their efforts. If you drive in Luboya at mile 17, you will see a number of story buildings, at least 2 of them have these signboards, credit unions, and none of them is ours. Land reclamation, real estate investment, working with other actors. FACO America should either explore the possibility of reactivating the BLCC, the Bakweland Claims Committee, or create an organization dedicated solely to the promotion or the protection and reclamation of land alienated from FACO indigenes through ignorance, negligence, and of fraud. And you'll be amazed at just how much of it is already gone. A real estate investment trust and perhaps a legal defense fund might be suitable vehicles for acquiring and managing lands held in trust for the community. FACO America interest groups or economic interest groups could sponsor land surrender efforts, which we know take place all the time. A small village of 10 people in connivance with administrative officials will apply for land because the village is too crowded and they don't have enough land to accommodate the population. In order to carry out the entire process, you need money, as you heard early on. Although for some reason we were asked to pay 3 million, and usually the amount is around 1.5. So once they heard America, they doubled the fee. Okay. Since the villagers don't have the money, but they want the land, then they go out and get somebody who's called a sponsor. The sponsor gives about 5 million so that they can do all the paperwork and in return get something like 5 hectares of that land. The land is being alienated at a frenetic pace. Most of our villages We are in the minority. The chiefs preside over villages in which you have, in some cases, probably about only 20% of the indigenous. That means the landowners in the village could decide to throw you out. And we see what happened in the last couple of years. No village is spared. At the height of the insecurity, when some people were running to Douala and Yaoundé, I found some people running to Bonakanda. But they didn't go to the village itself. They went to the farms behind the village. Why? Because they bought the farms behind the village, which means we have no backyard. That's where they went to hide. Those were not the villagers. They were people coming from as far as mile 16 and thereabouts. They're the non-indigenous, but they've acquired property behind the village. On the socio-economic front, we must continue to focus on promoting a vibrant cultural and social life at home. Nowadays, our social life seems to revolve around funerals and weddings. This is not healthy. A few events like the Boya Women's Marathon, which hold every year in the last 2-3 years they've attracted a lot of interest, clearly indicating the pent-up interest for these kinds of community-based activities. Fakwa America, I think, should consider sponsoring traditional dance festivals like the Chacha, Lingombe, Mondame, traditional singing competitions, so that life does not revolve around funerals. Fakwa America should help revive traditional wrestling, which appears to be fading away, help to energize sports activities like the Intercartier League football, a favorite sport during holidays, promote the Malay and the Malua. And I'm very pleased to see that the Malay was featured prominently last night. I couldn't participate much because I am a member of the Malay proper and the higher echelon.
It's okay.
Malay, those are some of the higher. So I cannot participate in a make-believe event. But it's good to see that this was done. And my son was beating the drum vigorously. Fakwa America, I believe, should show her face in annual events such as the Limbe Festival of Arts and Culture. That has become a fixture in recent years. Fakwa America should continue to promote marriage between the sons and daughters of Fako as a means of maintaining the tribal lineage. Increasing visibility. Does the ordinary man on the street know about Fakwa America? Probably not. I'm sure there are a few pockets here and there when we carry out projects. Fakwa America should not fall in the elitist mode. It should become a household name, and it could. If it hasn't already done so, I believe it should register in Cameroon either as an NGO or some kind of an organization, and it may have already done so. I believe the organization is mature enough to have a liaison office in Boya or Limbe with a minimum complement of field staff to implement, monitor, or supervise the projects. And I think that goes along with what Mola Mbella was telling us here, that you need people on the ground. I believe FACO America has done a lot, but FACO America needs to do some more. Some may think of me as a prophet of doom. Others may think that I ask too much. But I firmly believe we have the talent and sufficient human, material, and financial resources to bring some of these ideas to fruition, and we see a number of them coming forward. Therefore, I challenge you one and all to come together and work for our collective interest, for our survival. Politics, in my mind, is that dynamic by which an individual or group of individuals seek to balance his or their interests against those of other interests or groups within a community. That is my definition of politics. It's not partisan politics. Simply the dynamic by which we seek to balance our interests against those of others within the community. Within that context, I challenge FACO America to become a nimble and effective politician. For even as man is a social being, man is also of necessity a politician. Finally, we know the Mokwe are a proud and fiercely independent people. On every topic, you will find a range of opinions. We must accept this diversity as part of our nature, but we must also resist the temptation to fragment our small community. For we can accomplish more when we work as a group than when we work in tiny little fragments. As the saying goes, especially for those of us, because I was a surveyor, it's one of the first things we were taught in survey school, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. To those who lead and would aspire to lead, my advice is that you respect all shades of opinion, subscribe to the highest levels of probity, and insist on fairness and transparency. Anything else will lead us down the garden path. Those who cannot remember their past are condemned to repeat it. To our youth, I congratulate you for your interest, and I exhort you to remain steadfast in upholding the ideals of the organization. Sons and daughters of FACO, I salute you. Even as I have challenged every one of us to undertake an intense self-examination and play an active role in dedication of FACO America to her mission, and to make this an even more powerful organization, I also salute you for having kept the flame alive these past 25 years. I salute some of the old gang from the early days. Mola Makunatande, Yangona Mundomwe Wakide, our sister Yango Mbango, Mola Efeswa, Mola Ndwandeli, Mola Jacob Monono, and I can go on and on. Mojoko Ewusi, Etonde Ewusi, Elizabeth Deli, and I keep Mola Likini, Mola Ponda, and the list just goes on and on and on. I urge you all to remain steadfast so that 25 years from now, we may gather here again to celebrate our achievements and to continue the march towards modernity with strong, vibrant FACO America, serving a strong and invigorated people proud of their ancestry and their identity and strong enough to face the challenges of the future. Failure is not an option. I repeat, failure is not an option. For if we fail, we shall cease to exist, except in textbooks and movies. and we shall have no one else to blame. They surprise you, but last Saturday, I went down to Womaka and I found a traumatized Makuri man. Why was he traumatized? His neighbor had run away because when they were speaking Mokwe, they were challenged. How dare you speak Makuri here? The idea is not to be xenophobic. The idea is to protect your interests, period. The elephant is valued for its tusks of ivory, the rhinoceros for its horn, the lion for its skin, and the mokwe for his land and all that is on it and beneath it. The elephant protects his tusks, and the rhino his horn. Should the mokwe be any different? I say no. Therefore, we must not fail. I thank FACO America for inviting me, and I thank you for listening. Long live FACO America. God bless the sons and daughters of FACO.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, boss.
Jolly gana, the jolly gana, oh, imagine can know why we can do to Alina. Ayo, ayo, Joe to Alina. Ayo, ayo, Joe to Alina. Ayo, Joe to Alina. Oh, boy! Hey! Thank you.
Well done.
I'm a little puzzled, though, by the fact that you did mention the need for us to participate in the Limbe Cultural Festival. Indeed. I am puzzled by the fact that you did mention that we should participate in the Limbe Cultural Festival, which brings Bajili and all kinds of tribes in Fako. Yeah. When we made Dimbandu, and you did also talk about the need for...
Thank you, Mola Mbella.
You want to give it some time. We have to pay for this convention. People are not buying this thing.
Thank you, Mola Mola Sam Deli. Mola Sam Deli, please.
They didn't hear you, man.
Quiet, please.
There has been a development which might affect the way this elections takes place. So Monsieur Senator Alete Handsome.
Flamboyant boy. Ajala Handsome.
My fellow FACO Americans.
Your microphone is off, man.
From under.
Would the mouth talk without it?
No.
My fellow FACO Americans. I have been extremely discombobulated with what's going on here.
Yes,
And to put it differently, perplexed. I am an elderly statesman, not by age, by the fact that I've been in this institution for an extremely very long time. At this point in time, I think I would decline. I don't want to get myself mixed up. I see what I see here, please, I want you guys. Please.
Allow him to talk.
Please.
Some somebody is talking, you're not respecting them.
Yes. All I see here will be circumstantial at least. So I see Raspatas, Razzle Dazzle, and Brouhaha. To end stories here, I am just. Thank you all for coming by, and I'm going to stay a member of FACO America, but for now I decline.
Thank you.